All right, greetings, Facebook. I'm Madisha. We
I'm
have
Asira.
I'm Tehani. I'm Viraji.
all right. So first of all, I want to thank the Sustainable Education Foundation and the amazing team behind for inviting us to join with you all via Facebook to share our experience at the International Conference on Social Robotics and how we came up with the idea of doing the sorting hat and the challenges that we faced and how we pursued by facing all those challenges and how we won the competition. Till we get some more friends on board to come live, let's stick here for a moment. So till then, Asela, you got anything to share?
Mm, we're talking about like we got a lot of experience to be shared within the slides as well. I think let's wait till people join
Indeed,
here.
indeed. So I would like to suggest like there's a lot of experience there's a lot of insights for us to share within the next hour's time, and I would like to suggest please do ask a lot of questions because there's a lot of experience and insights to be shared, and if you could ask some deep questions, we could actually think deeply about the experience that we had and give more valuable insights for all. Shall we start off then, Nasela?
Yeah, I think like we got uh,
There are a
10:30.
few,
Yeah.
yeah, all right then. So basically, at the beginning of the year, all right, so I'm Madisha and I'm a fourth year undergraduate. Asela is a fourth year, and Viraj is a third year student, and Tehani is a fourth year. So in our course, we have a module called Human Robot Interactions. So in this, it's a very interesting subject. We don't have any written paper. It's a fully practical course. We have to submit a fully working social robot at the end of the course. So it's a 3 months course, and we had to create a social robot. Now, in this, the question arises: what is a social robot? Right now, in the day-to-day life, we have seen a lot of robots. Like if you look at the movies, there are very complex and very interesting robots. Like let's say Terminator and all.
Terminator,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Uh, the question is, are those social robots? Now, actually, social robots are much more friendly type of robots who are trying to be a part of our day-to-day lives and try to help us to get things done. That's a social robot, and our supervisor, Dr. Ravindra De Silva sir. Now he is an expert in social robotics, and he was in Japan for nearly 15 years, and he's the one who actually brought in social robotics for Sri Lanka. And we had to do this project, and we were brainstorming a lot of ideas. Initially, we thought about different ideas, and while we were searching for all this, on one side. On the other hand, we figured out uh, various other interesting domains. For instance, brain-computer interface. That is where we take use of the brain waves or brainwave signals that is coming out of our heads and taking a computational value or a computational doing something computational out of it. So we were thinking about it. We saw a lot of applications like people controlling drones out of their brain waves, out of their thoughts, and so on. So we were fascinated about connecting all these things, social robotics and brain waves and so on. So out of which we are students, right? So we love all those comic things. We love Arrow. We love Flash. I do watch those TV series, and like we actually love those. And out of those, since our childhood, we always dreamt of going to that magical world where Hogwarts is, getting sorted into a Hogwarts house, and all those things. And while thinking about all those things, we figured out, right? It's a brainwaves, and there's we need something to do with brainwaves. We need to create a robot, and we need to do something magical, and that's how we connected the dots, and that's how we came up with the idea of creating the sorting hat. Now the sorting hat which we created is a mediator social robot for autistic children. Now autism is something like this. Now in the community that we live in, there are people who the children who are with autism, they cannot express their feelings, they cannot interact, or they cannot show the emotions to the normal people. They find it very difficult. So if there is a mediator, someone in between the autistic children and the normal people or the normal children, to communicate what the autistic child is saying or what sort of emotions that he or she is having, that is going to be very helpful. For instance, if I talk to you in a language that you cannot understand, you won't get what I'm saying, right? But if there's a translate in between, you will get what I'm saying. So similarly, we created a mediator social robot to link the autistic and the normal children, and that's what our sorting hat is. So the thing about the hat or the social robot that we created, before that, there's a lot of other social robots who have been created for autistic children. But the thing is, they're actually robots. They look friendly. Yes, they absolutely they look friendly. But the thing is, we are talking about little children, and they don't actually want a robot to express themselves. They actually need someone they love, someone they uh, wish to live, or someone they actually believe in to interact with. So we were thinking what sort of other things that they interact with. So for instance, it's not the robots that we're talking about they're actually something for them. But we actually need someone for them to interact with. So in that we saw all these children interacting with Spider-Man, playing with them in hospitals, uh, all the pictures with Superman and so on. And out of those, we actually saw Harry Potter as well. So we thought, right, uh, we are actually on right track. This is going to fit well with the autistic children. So we thought, right, we are on the right track. Autistic children would love to interact with a robot with a fictional character's appearance, and then we came up with the entire system or connecting all the dots together to create this. So this is our product that we created. On one side, you can see the computer generated graphic of the sorting hat from the Harry Potter movie, and on the other side, you can see the hat that we created in our laboratory. So that's the exterior view of it, and in this you can see the interior, the circuits, the wiring, the mechanical structure, and so on. And some certain components we had to 3D print because it's a very complicated structure. So so all these are challenges, right? Now when you're listening to, or when you're seeing all these things, you might hear, wow, we how did you all 3D print? Where did you learn to 3D print? Ask that question, we will share the answer. So this is how we created the interior, and most of the things are custom made, 3D printed, sometimes created out of a mold, and so on. Uh, so this is the hat is capable of moving its head, eyes, mouth. It's able to talk, and there's a brainwave center integrated. And the rest of the parts, how the hat is working in a technical perspective, or how we engineer the product, I think the best person to share that would be Asela. Asela?
Okay, so thanks, Anish. Yeah. So I hope like there are a lot of people there, and I hope you are in the tech domain. So for that people, these couple of slides gonna be okay, but the rest of the people just hang in there. It's gonna be just couple of slides about the architecture and all the technical stuff, the way we have engineered the hat. So simply, if we look at this picture, you see like there are a lot of graphical stuff, but I'll divide it so that you would understand simply what the functionality is about. Now there are three major parts. One is the brain sensor. The second one is the sensors around the hat, and third, it's connected to the cloud. So these three parts. The first part, I'll go with the brain sensor. So Adish has explained like why we decided initially to go with the brain sensor, because like we wanted to actually be a little bit of a magical way that we can sort these people into houses, the children into houses, as well as there's a little bit of depth into that. The main reason is for the medical purposes, that we are actually getting the data of the children who's going to wear it, and we are going to save it in our cloud. So that is one huge area that we are focusing through this hat. And the next part, as you can see around, like there are sensors, proximity sensors, LDR sensors, very simple stuff, but very effective, because the main thing is about these sensors is that this robot, it's not just a robot, it's a social robot. So it has to have some interactivity, it has to have the capability of identifying what's happening around it. So we had to use these sensors, and there's a computer vision part as well, in order to identify better factors about the environment. So that is also there, but currently it's not implemented, but we will be implementing it very soonly. So the sensors, and the next part is actually a little bit of in-depth about how the robot behave itself. We call it the OS, Sorting Hat OS. So it's actually being developed with these technologies, as you can see in the screen. We have used WebSockets, so it will always be connected with the cloud, so we can actually get the data, we can save it in the cloud, and we can also give some commands after processing it on the cloud. The data part, where we do our cognitive analysis on the brain data, and we can directly tell the hat what it needs to do as a result. I mean, it can tell you, if you are an autistic child, it can tell you like these are the things that you have to do. It can give you commands, it can give you sort of an idea like you should behave after doing that cognitive analysis on the cloud. So that is one part. And there are separate threads for sensors, cameras, sorting mechanism. Yeah, that is my favorite thing about the hat, where in the movie you actually can be sorted into houses. So that thing as well is in the hat as the sorting thread. So if you put it on your head, you will be actually sorted into a house based on your brain chemistry at the moment, and we will be capturing that, and you will be selected to a house. So that part is also covered. So moving on with these technologies, we have these states that we call them, if it's a social robot, so you need to have multiple states that people would recognize as like natural emotions, say like sleeping, like uh, interacting and saying hello. Very simple things, but still it's effective, because the social robots, everything is about the interactivity, the the ability of the robot to keep a person attracted to the robot. So these are the states that we have used, like sleeping, waking up, excited, angry, and like in the movie, this robot is this hat is actually most of the times it's angry. So we also had to implement that. So I think like Adish will be going through these the use cases of the hat. So Adish, want to.
Yes, indeed. So the competition or the conference, it's the International Conference on Social Robotics. Oh, it's one of the main one of the main conferences for social robotics, and they actually they actually want something not for today, but for tomorrow, right? So they want something that would be there in the world in maybe another 5 or 10 years time. So we had to think in that level. So based on that, we created 3 use cases which could be implemented then. That is, it could be adaptable maybe in another 3 or 4 years time, and some applications where it could be used now. So the first scenario would be to assist as a mediator. That is, let's say I'm an autistic child, and if you are a non-autistic child, and if I say something rude, probably you might get angry and you might tend to scold me. But let's assume I'm wearing the hat and we are in a public place, maybe in school or somewhere like that, and I'm wearing the hat. Let's assume, and again I tend to scold you while having the conversation, and I'm saying something rude, and you tend to scold me. But if the hat could recognize my emotions, that what I'm saying, and if I'm honestly being sad, you might not scold me that aggressively, because the hat is showing a sad emotion, a sad facial expression, and you might not tend to scold as that aggressive. So that is where the hat is playing its role. It's interacts, showing its emotions, trying to express what the child is showing at that moment, right? Because sometimes even though an autistic child is doing something rude or talking in a rude way, that is not the exact emotion that he or she is having. Maybe the autistic child needs to say something nice, but his approach might be rude for us to get angry. So that's why it's very important that there is a mediator to show that emotion for the listener. So that's the first scenario that we focused on. So this is in a public or a place where there are other people, right? That's for the first scenario. For the second scenario is in a domestic environment. That is, let's say after school I go home and the sorting hat is there, and the sorting hat lets me to interact with it, to talk, to learn. For instance, there's a lot of other robots like competitor, or like we can say other similar products where the robots are teaching the autistic children. It's a very demanding area. There's a lot of robots or mobile labs where the children could use to learn emotions. That is specifically for autistic children. But those are just apps or robots. So this hat, the child could keep it on a table, and the hat could do various emotions, change his facial expressions, and so on. And the child could read out loud, saying, "Okay, now it's in a sad mood, in a happy mood," and so on. And then the child could learn together rather than just clicking buttons on a screen and so on. So that is the second scenario as a learning assistant. And the third one is the one that I think we all love. That is a community where there is a set of sorting hats. I'll be having one, Nasela will be having one, Viraj, and we all the autistic children having sorting hats for themselves, and the hats will interact each other and give different scenarios uh, for them to interact and get together. So those are the three scenarios that we developed, presented, and demonstrated at the conference, at the competition. So the first and the second scenarios are mostly done, but the third scenario, it has to come up with multiple heads. But if somebody could question us how we are going to scale that, we have a lot to share. So opportunity is there. Just ask us. We'll tell what our plans are. So moving on, we tried this out with a lot of children. Sela, would you like to continue further?
Yeah. So basically, about like if you're wondering like how do we know, how do we validate this, like the idea? Simply, we had a exhibition at Innovate Sri Lanka. It was from like Jaipur University for their 60th anniversary. So it was in BMICH, and like there were, like as you can see in the pictures, in the slides, there were like more than 500 students participated with our stall, and they have interacted. They all wanted to put the hat on their head, and they really loved it. I mean, you see in the pictures. So those kids actually like validated us that there actually exists an actual opportunity that we can look into in the future if we scale this up. So even like as Adisha mentioned in the competition, like we did not have the final product when we were applying for the competition. We only had like more than like 75%, 80% finished product. We did not have all these functionalities, but yet we had a very solid idea, and we had a very solid goal that where we are gonna go into. So we applied for the competition in November. The competition was in November 26th to 29th at Spain, Madrid, University of Carlos. Yes. So it's yeah, you can see the university there. So there were many universities, there were many PhD holders, researchers that have applied for this conference and the competition. There's a separate social robotics competition along with the conference. So a lot of countries, like as as an example, like China, Japan,
Many European countries, yeah.
Yeah, especially European countries, they really have taken their top products into this, and we were, I mean, we should be proud, and we were selected as the top 10 finalists to take our product into that stage where all the other countries have also joined with their uh, top products. So the journey, well, talking about the journey, uh, there are a couple of pictures that from the journey that like it was a very long journey, honestly speaking. We went on in the bus, in the train, in the plane, and even in the by foot. So finally we reached the conference area in the university, and the conference, there were like a lot of tech giants, especially in social robotics area, like Pal Robotics, even Microsoft, like those sort of companies. They have taken like their top products. That means like sellable products, like selling products at the moment, and they have taken these things into the stores, and we have talked with them. Like we have asked them like, how did you manage to take a robot and come to this level. I mean, like as an example, I just share one thought, that one question I always try to explain to the viewers. One thing is like in Pal Robotics, there was this lady coming from representing Pal Robotics. That lady was saying that they have their one of the highest sales in Nigeria. So I was like wondering how a country, I mean, like no disrespect, but our country like Nigeria, as we know, would afford these robots, and how do they actually make a use of it, make the use of these robots more than other countries? How does it happen? So like her answer was actually uh, there are some countries which already has systems like let's say like in the airports, in the docks, or in any logistical areas or some things like that. So there, if there's an existing system, it's little bit of hard to remove the people out of it and introduce robotics, social robots. So countries like Nigeria, they are saying that they have a very limited system, so it's easy that we can actually integrate a new system and make for a new way of getting things done. So that idea was one of the key points for me to actually work on these things in the future, because the area that we have chosen in healthcare, there are very limited social robotics that already exist, especially talking about like with brainware technology, all these things. So we thought like actually this has some potential if you are talking about the future. So moving on with the competition, yes, I love this guy. This is now one of the very oldest and very, what do you call it, like interactive robot that we know. Like we could see like there are a couple of videos that unfortunately we can't share it at the moment, but we'll try to post it later on. Some videos from these robots, how they actually interact. As you can see in the picture, like they actually behave better than children. I mean, like very friendly. So that is the thing about these robots. It's not just the getting the work done. It's about uh, interacting with the people and getting the work
I
done.
would say being a part of the
Yes,
life.
part of the life. I mean, like that is really amazing how they have programmed these robots. So that was about the competition. Simply talking about this modern robotics, what I have experienced is like, honestly speaking, Sri Lanka is little bit of left behind with this area, what I feel. But hope we are making progress by reaching out, like wearing other people like this, having sessions how we should develop these social robotics projects, and try to catch up with the rest of the world. So these are a couple of pictures from us at the conference, and yes, exhibition. Yeah, it was quite interesting day, the exhibition day. We actually designed an exhibition stall that is going with the Harry Potter theme. As you can see in the picture, like the logos, the hat itself, and the banners, the flags from the movie, Gryffindor, Slytherin, those flags. So there were a lot of people interacting with the exhibition. This is actually in Spain. So they were coming to our stores, even the competitors, like the other competitors, they were coming to our stall and like putting the hat and taking photos with the hat. So we were like really inspired that actually like uh, I would say like this because we were not considered the most uh, like we were sort of like the underdogs there, like more.
Can I add a little thing to that, Asil?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
when we visited there, like, no offense, but there's like, from where I are, we said Sri Lanka. I mean, few people, and they asked how we got to know about this. Oh, do Sri Lankans know about
mm,
robotics?
yeah.
And we were like, okay, fine, let's see how it goes.
So yeah, yes, Adisha. Then simply like we were underdogs, and there are a lot of people who doesn't even know about Sri Lanka. That is Adisha's point. So we actually make an impact. We actually made an impact by showing them that there are actual people in like countries like Sri Lanka, small countries, these kind of products, and actually go there and showcase to the world that we actually can do something. So it went well, the exhibition. And the interesting part, the final thing, was the competition that our vision was to actually go there and make a impact, make a name, make a mark about the country and everything. So we actually wanted to go there with our full everything, but unfortunately like we had to develop the product after like I have to say like we had to take the product into parts when we are going to the through the airports and everything, those process. So we had to go and assemble it again. So it was very hard in a country like that. There were no like backups like for hardware, so we had to manage all that. And finally like we got it together, and we barely slept for like 1 or 2 hours within all these 3 4 days. And this was a snap from the pitch, just before the pitch, and Adisha was doing the pitch. And guess what, like this guy delivered a very nice pitch. And you know what happened? So like we got to be the first place, like the winners of innovation in hardware category. And it was like a very inspirational moment for us, because like going there as underdogs, and I mean like uh, making a mark actually about Sri Lanka in this field, actually social robotics. So we are pretty happy about that. And these are a couple of snaps from the competition and after that. And Adisha, so yeah, this is we are here right now. So I think like this is actually the end of this the slides. So what do you have to tell at the end, like for all the viewers? What do you think, like?
Yeah, there is. So if you work on assignments, university assignments, you could take it far more than you think, or maybe the more than the result, the, the result that you get from the exam or the paper. There's more for you to achieve if you could work on it. So I think we can open up for some questions, right? So
Yes.
yeah. So guys. We're truly honored to join here with Sustainable Education Foundation and to share our journey. But with that, we gained a lot of insights. We met a lot of very interesting people, and we would love to share that the knowledge, the insights we got. So, if you have any questions, please do post them right now. We'll do our very best to answer those, and help you all out. So we'll be staying here for a while. So yeah, let's hear what you all have to ask. So that's the first question, is it?
Mm, that's actually a question from Pramod Dinesh Jaipur. So they're asking about like the funding and the resources.
Maybe the challenges you could go with. I'll go with the funding and the resources part.
So yeah, so Minuri was asking about like what are the challenges that we face. Like the first challenge that I have in mind is like we are going to an unknown territory. Like this is after like we build the project, so we are going to an unknown territory like Spain, that sort of a country, uh, which is like there are a lot of things that we have to do before we go, like preparing backups for our hardware, all these things. I'm talking from the tech perspective, but that is very crucial. If you are talking from competitions perspective, the challenges, and before that, like even building this and taking this uh, to be good enough to put this into a competition. So that was one of the biggest challenges that we all agree, I think, like whether uh, whether do we have the validated product, do we have the correct vision, that thing, like we had to go through it again and again, and we had to uh, finalize it, like this is what we are trying to do, this is actually the goal of this, and this is this way it will solve a problem. So for that there are a lot of like lot of feedback from people, but we had to stick to our vision, and we had to carry on. So that is one challenge I would remember. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I think with regard to the development of the project, I think Tehani will have a lot of things to share about the design and the development challenge, especially with the clothes, the weight, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The main thing when you are one of the main goals when you are creating the hat was to get the look and feel from the movie, to give that look and feel to our hat, similar to the movie. So and so we have to find a cloth, the material of the hat. We had to find that. It was not easy. We had to go through many materials and design to get the emotions. We had to design it and then again check the whether the emotions are like we can get the emotions and then again adjust the eyes, mouth, and everything like those things. And also when designing the hat, it's for the kids, so to put it on the heads of to the kids, so it has to be lightweighted. The first hat we made, it was somewhat heavy, so we had to redesign it and design it with the materials with less weight and to make it again. And those are.
Yeah. So on the other hand, we have been working on this project for like nearly 8 months. So I think when it comes to the research aspect, there are few things I think Kiraj would like to share. Some challenges with regard to the research aspect. Are there any you would like to share, or maybe you go in with another question? What do you say?
Go.
All right, let's see how it goes in. So the next question.
There's a question from Yashi.
Okay. People,
Does the robot capable of learning the subject over time? If so, how will it remember the symptoms and react intelligently? Yeah, I think Adisha would answer that.
yeah. Wow, that's a very interesting question. Like there are a couple of how learning subject over time. I will remember the symptoms related. Right. Okay. Now it's like this, Yasin. First of all, it's a great question. Now, this product is a fully scalable product. We don't do the processing inside the head. So we whatever the information that we take, it's processed in the cloud. So the reason is for similar situation. For instance, uh, for to remember, to run the machine learning model, to scale it. That's why we took the entire system on cloud. So we are using certain machine learning algorithms partially at the moment to decide what sort of interactions to be done, to be shown via the HAT based on the child's current state. But if you look at autism, it's a very complex developmental disorder. So just like in a blood sample or a blood test, it's very hard to figure out the symptoms. But what we can do is measure the child's interactivity or the rate of interactions that it's having and whether it's interacting well or not or so on. So for that we are using voice recognition, and based on that the HAT will decide. But again, to how to map it in the with time, it's on the cloud. We save that information, we keep that, we process it, and based on that decisions are being taken. So it's a very simple model. I think even for a mobile that app that we do, I mean, we do practice during our university days, we use cloud, right? So the model is very simple, but we use it for a very fragile, for a very important question to be answered. So I hope we gave the expected answer for you. So again, if I sum up that, there are certain machine learning models running on the cloud. The information that we get here from the child is sent there, processed, and sent. And again, the model will be reworked based with time for the child to interact with. So,
So there's another question from Hasita. How do you identify strength among the team members and divide the work? Yeah, that's an interesting question, Hasita. I mean, like the team, us, like Adisha is mainly, Adisha and myself, like we are mainly handling the product perspective and its vision, like how will it move on. So we are like sort of coming from a background with little bit of entrepreneurship. So we have developed products, we have worked with the clients, how the later part of making a project into a product like that. I think like we have gone through a little bit, so we have a little bit of idea like how we should go on. So Adisha and myself was like working on that, and Tehani was mainly working on the design side, the interaction side, because her final year project was also about autism and how the interactivity should be figured out. That was the part from Tehani, and Viraj was working on the research side of it, how to actually sum it up in the research perspective. And Doini was actually, she's not here, but Doini was actually working on the statistical perspective. Even if we build the product, like we had to evaluate whether this is statistically correct, the data we are getting, and the research perspective, whether it's going to be validated or not with the data we are getting. So this is actually like a very like people here in the team are very confident about the task and the goals that they have to do. I think like they are doing a very good job with that. And yes, Hasita, so the question is strength among the team members and divide the work. Yeah, that is how we have done it.
and I say like in previous question, they asked about how the funding part was done. So I would like to answer that question as well. So initially, this is a university project. So initially, like when you are starting it off, no one is going to fund you. It's
Yes.
just a normal project. So, but with time, we came up with the proof of concept. We showcased it at the exhibition, and then we got the attention. And then we got a very complex or very powerful brainwave sensor from the university, and so on. So based on the funding support that we got from the university, I have to mention the IIBC, the one of the university councils, and support from the vice chancellor, from the dean, and the lecturers from the department, and the links that they have. So all those things actually helped us a lot. So to get that support, it depends. I think it varies from university to university how you all could approach that. But if you are planning to make this a product or to build a company out of this, to build a startup out of it, the model would be different. So you might have to look in for investments or to bootstrap the company or so on. So it depends on that. So if you have that question, post it back. We'll spend some time on sharing feedback on that as well.
Yeah, there's another question. It's an interesting question. It's great to see the gender balanced team. Both boys and girls are represented equally. in university projects and competitions, did the girls face any issues glass ceiling during the project? Well, I think we have to ask the girls.
Yeah.
So, did you got the question? The question is, it's great to see gender balanced team. How do you make sure both boys and girls are represented equally in university level projects and competitions? That's the first question, I think. Did the girls face any issues, glass ceiling during the project? And asking about the issues you face as girls. I mean, yeah, they would be the people to ask that.
No. Whether you are a girl or a boy, it's all about teamwork.
Yes.
At the end, it's the team. It does not depend on whether you are a girl or a boy. And actually, we trusted about each other. We had a good mutual understanding.
So again, for that question, I think when Asel and I talk about certain things, Viraj, Dovini, and Tehani, they actually gave a whole like a completely different perspective. I think that was very valuable for us. Like sometimes we only focus towards one thing, but we sometimes we miss the rest of the perspective. So that actually helped a lot. So
That's a good thing to have. I mean, like, I think the main idea of asking the question is like because most of the time the robotics and everything, the projects, and most of them is like they think the people think like it's a boys thing, but I don't think so. Yeah, because in this team, like some of the coolest ideas have come from these girls, not actually by us. Like
yes.
we sort of like executed them. So yeah, we can move on. Next one from Asel, please. Not Asel, Asel. Um, really proud of you guys. I'd love to hear about how you guys researched about the technical implementation of the project and how the scaling of the project is planned for the future. So I think like I'll answer the first part, the researching about the technical implementation, and Adisha can tell like what our future plans. So the research part of the technical implementation. So simply if you take a social robotics project, like there are certain things that we actually inherited from our RIS lab. We are on it right now. This RIS lab is in Sri Jawaharlal University. So our Dr. Ravindra Silla, our lecturer, like he has given a lot of wisdom about like how should we look at this sort of a project, even if it's from the technical perspective. But for the outside world, it's not just about the technical implementation. It's about like, as we were saying earlier, it's about the implementation and the interaction with people. So we had to look it in a different way. It's still technical, but we had to look it in a very social way. So that inheritance was like received from this lab and from our lecturer. And apart from that, we had to use the standards available when developing softwares and those sort of things, like we usually study in our curriculum, and we had to research a bit as well. From experience, like we know what are the services that we have to use, like even like Azure, AWS, those sort of things. Very common these days when you're developing softwares. So that we have used, and for these like brainwave and those sort of things, like we actually had to research a lot. When we were starting, they were all new things to us. It was not easy, honestly speaking. Without knowing about the whole technical implementation, we still have to go ahead and build this. So we actually did a lot of researching going on with these brain sensors and the implementations of it. So yeah, Adisha, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I'll move on to the second part of the question. So the question is
How the scaling of the project is planned in the future?
yes. Now it's like this. Now, first of all, this is a research. So we need to first like we won the award and like in the middle of the the development timeline. So first we have certain scientific findings that we need to publish those we need to publish the research findings. So within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll be completing that, and that would be the highest priority for us because that is where the research findings are, the scientific findings, the knowledge contribution to the scientific domain. That is the first priority that we have, and afterwards, maybe from 2 to 3 months time, that is our the goal that we have for the next 2 to 3 months would be that, and then we cannot just let this go. I think that is a problem that we have seen throughout the past years. A lot of children, students, they have built various innovations. They have done a lot of nice things, but we don't see that scaling up. We don't see, maybe they have, but we do like few maybe, but majority they just die away. So now I have been in the Sri Lankan startup ecosystem for the last nearly 5 years, and similarly, Asela was is also involved in various startups for the last 5 years, I would say. So I think that's a good mix that most of the teams don't have because it's very important that the team has a composition where the entrepreneurial mindset is there because otherwise a lot of innovations it's stick for the innovation part, they don't move on with the business aspect. It's very important that we look into that aspect. So we are already talking with the vice chancellor, with the supervisor and the business linkage cell of the university to scale this to a business model. uh, yes, there are constraints with Harry Potter branding and so on, but we'll figure that out because the merchandising is possible. So maybe after another 2 or 3 months time, we'll be taking our next step to launch this as a practical product for autistic children to use and take the to reap the benefit out of this. So we are in discussion with the university, and through the university, we'll be scaling this up as a product or a startup. Yeah,
Yes, um,
that's all for the moment.
yeah, I think that's the question we got. Um, yeah, we have missed it. Right, so
All right then. What else? Any special points to be mentioned?
well, yeah, I think like since there are no other questions, like we would like to share a couple of points from the team, maybe for all the listeners, all the viewers. If you're an undergraduate, if you're working on similar kind of projects, I think like the point I can
Oh,
share.
we got another question. Sorry.
Okay. Right, from Imdad Ahmad, how did you manage academics and project? Well, yeah,
Very
interesting
tough
question.
question.
Yeah, I mean,
You can add the
for
internship part
some,
as well.
yes, I would like to implement complex projects. It's really hard to manage it. Um,
You go ahead.
okay, so
I
starting
think
on,
we all
yeah,
could
we all
share.
can share.
Yeah.
Right. So to start off the answer, this is actually not the final year project of any of us. Like this is actually a project that we started in our third years, end of third years. So we still have our final year projects to complete. Most of us are in like internship period, so we have that to complete, and we also have our academics, which is like getting a class at the end of
And the startup
yeah,
as well.
yeah, that is it. Sorry, I forgot that. We have our own startups to nurture as well. So there are a lot of things at stake. But at the moment, like, how do you manage it? I would say simply focus the most important thing at the hand at the moment, because sometimes you can catch up things later on. It depends. That is my advice for anyone who's asking for something, some advice regarding that. So the most important thing, if you are doing a really good job with that most important thing at the moment, so I think the rest of things will follow good later on. So it I sort of like believe in destiny. So that answer would go on with that. If you as an example, I'll just relate the point. It's like this. So when we received this competition invitation, like we decided that we are going, that was actually very costly, the journey. We had to put an immense effort to actually go there from the like visas, everything. Like it's like very short period that we had to arrange all this. So maybe I wouldn't have in the beginning I didn't think I would make it, and I had a lot of other things to actually consider at the moment. But these people convinced me that I should be going, and I decided finally that I will be going. So it turns out to be good, and the rest of things will also be is becoming also better, because like you are putting your 100% onto that thing that you decided that you will do. So that is one advice that I also can give. So I think like the team can also point out some things regarding that. Any advices that you can give to the viewers?
I think we could sum up the last question and
Yeah.
so as Asela mentioned, you could share like how you balance the academics with all these complicated things going around, uh, and you could and your final message to the viewers over there.
So there were so many things that we had to think of, like internship, academics, projects, and everything. What I have to say is that focus, like if you have something to do, then just do it and focus on that. Then move on to the next thing. So don't think about like, everything and it will be a mess. Focus it and then do it and just do it. So, like I have some messages to give. So there are some problems that we see every day. Uh, Autism is one such thing. There are children with autism, but and there are some things that we see every day. The movie Harry Potter movie, everyone loves that, and no one uh, no one wanted to build that thing. So there are things that we see every day, but we don't want to change the things and change or give a solution. So don't like if you see something, if you can change, just think of something how you can change that thing, how you can build that thing like that. And also there are some crazy ideas that come into our mind and people say that we can't do it, don't do that. But if you think that you can do it, just do it and it will be the result will be amazing.
Okay. So with regard to the balancing my academic and the research part, I had my own deadline.
For that, I have to mention that Viraj is just after a exam paper. Yeah.
I had my own deadlines, like I should finish my assignment by this time, like that. And what I have to say, you guys, is don't be a boring person. Like Tehani said, at the beginning, your ideas, you may feel your ideas are crazy, but believe me, the world will love it very much. And never say no to challenges.
Oh, that inspired us a lot as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So to wrap up, so I'll give my suggestion for this as well. So Imad, nowadays people are talking a lot. I agree a lot with Afsela because those days that Afsela's advice actually worked a lot for me. And I was searching for this. I was asking a lot of people this time management thing. But now it's not about time management. Believe me, maybe another year's time, Sri Lankans will not be talking about time management. People will be talking about energy management in Sri Lanka. In other countries, they are talking about energy management. That is focusing your energy on the right thing and focusing on the things that actually gives you energy and avoiding things or facing things that actually degrades your energy. So search about energy management. There is a special article on Harvard Business Review. Search as HBR energy management. You will find some very helpful resources that actually is a turning point. It actually became a turning point for me. You will learn a lot from that. Search energy management by Harvard Business Review. So to sum up, I want to say a few things. To to do all these things, there was a lot of people behind. Starting from our supervisor, Dr. Ravindra De Silva sir, then the IIBCC Council, the Inventions, Venture Creations Council from the university, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Sampath Amrutunga sir, the Dean of the faculty, Professor Lalin Karnanayaka sir, and all the lecturers of the Computer Science department and the rest of the staff. They actually helped a lot. And the people that we cannot forget, our friends, the batchmates. They are even when we are in Madrid preparing at the last minute, they were in Sri Lanka, sometimes sending the code, fixing bugs, so on. So that's teamwork. So I take this opportunity to thank them as well. And on the other hand, the Sustainable Education Foundation, starting from Akshika Iyer, Hasita, Minuri. I know there's an amazing team behind to keep this momentum going. So thanks a lot, team at Sustainable Education Foundation, for inviting us to be here to share our thoughts and insights. So thank you again. So my message to all the viewers. Some time ago, I met two people from the Forbes Under 30 list. And when I saw them, I saw a pattern, how they work. So the pattern that I saw, and what I always tell myself is, you should always think big, start small, and work fast. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend and have a great Christmas ahead. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. See you.